Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, Honorable Dr. William Ruto, honorable members of the Executive, Chair of the Council of Governors, H.E. Ann Waiguri, Jeremy Worry, EcoBank Group CEO, and other EcoBank executives present, Fingo co-founders, Fingo investors and staff, all protocols observed. I was first introduced to Kiru and James by a friend of mine who had invested in Fingo and suggested that I talk to these young people who were starting a very exciting venture. Why did my friend introduce me to Fingo? Because I'm in the talent business. Over the last 20 years, through the African Leadership Group, I've been on a mission to identify the most brilliant young people in Africa and to develop their talents and help them to find opportunities. And so they thought that I could help Kiru and his team to build their team. And since that journey, James and Kiru have become members of our community of talent, something that we call the Room. And their Chief Commercial Officer, Judith Bokongo, is a graduate of one of our programs at ALX. And they have a young data analyst who's working on their team, who's also one of our graduates. So I feel that we've sort of been part of their journey in helping them to build this organization. And today, I want to say a big congratulations to you, Kiru, and your team for reaching this point to where we'll soon be pressing that red button to launch the app. Now, it's no secret that I believe that technology is the future for Africa. Why do I believe this? There are two reasons. The first is I believe that technology is key to solving Africa's grand challenges and capturing its great opportunities. We have big challenges like healthcare, climate change, infrastructure, education, and we have to find ways to develop our agriculture, to empower women. There's so many challenges that we face as a continent of Africa. And technology is a way for us to solve these problems because we don't have a lot of time in Africa. By 2035, we'll have the largest workforce in the world, 1 billion people who need jobs. And therefore, when we have a lot of constraints, we have to think unconventionally. We need to reimagine, we need to reinvent. We cannot solve Africa's problems with conventional methods. We need unconventional methods, and technology is the way in which we can do that. I can personally attest to the power of technology. Before the pandemic, we were training a few thousand people on the continent. During the pandemic, we had to leverage technology. And today, we have scaled by 53,000% in just 2 years. And we're training 200,000 software engineers on the continent of Africa. 12,000 of those are here in Kenya. And our goal is to leverage technology to build the next generation of technology talent for the continent. So we aim to develop 5 to 10 million software engineers on this continent of Africa so that we can actually make Africa the next India, the next China, with the talent to power economies. Technology is also crucial for improving public sector governance on the continent. In fact, just yesterday, I was at our campus, the African Leadership University campus in Rwanda, where I was leading a session with 43 leaders from public sector countries across the continent, including 3 from Kenya, where we're helping them to develop skills to become product managers, to think like how tech companies think. Because what do tech companies do? They first understand their user's problem, then they develop a prototype, they roll it out, and then they use the data to improve it. And that's how we go from version 1, version 2. So we go from iPhone 1 to iPhone 10 to iPhone 15, and it gets better. So we're challenging governments to say, what if you thought of your citizens as users? Understand their needs, develop a prototype of a solution, roll it out using data, and then use the analytics to improve the service, and then it gets better and better and better. Estonia is a great example of this. In Estonia, there are only two things that you need to interact with the government for in person: to get married and to get divorced. Everything else is online. And so we are hoping that we can develop public sector leaders who can allow our governments to function with this level of efficiency. Because what does technology do as well? It improves transparency, it helps to remove corruption, because a lot of things can be traced. And so Kenya's Huduma centers, obviously, it's a wonderful start in that direction. And Your Excellency, we hope that under your leadership, you will continue to push digitization of the government so that your citizens can access so many services much faster and easier at a lower cost, and it will drive transparency and help to reduce corruption. The second reason why I believe that technology is a future is because technology is a powerful force for job creation. When we think about, and there are two ways in which I see Africa doing this. The first is if we can build a large pool of technology talent, we can then tap into the massive global need for technology talent. There's a shortage of 50 to 80 million jobs in the world that are looking for people with technology skills. China is aging, India is aging, Africa remains the youngest continent in the world. So if we can develop technology talent, we can actually export it in the same way in which India today generates $230 billion of foreign exchange. 90% of that comes from outside of India. And every tech worker spends money in restaurants, they have an Uber driver, they spend money in shops, and they bring wealth and they drive the middle class in the country. And so Africa, therefore, has a fantastic opportunity to become the next India by building a large pool of technology talent and attracting foreign exchange into the continent and building the middle class that will actually fuel the economy. And that's, therefore, real imperative for this continent that it's ours to lose. The second reason why technology creates jobs is through entrepreneurship. And in that vein, Kiru and his team are wonderful examples of that. We find in the African Leadership Group that every entrepreneur that we creates between 10 to 15 jobs. These guys are ahead already. They've already got 20 jobs. And as they scale, they've promised me that they're going to create 300 jobs at least. Imagine that going all the way across the continent. There's one graduate from the African Leadership University from 2 years ago who built a tech company. He today employs 50,000 people across the continent. And so you can see young people spinning up around the continent and creating jobs for others. And one of the ways in which this happens is that they employ other young people. We find that young entrepreneurs tend to either hire young people, because entrepreneurs hire their peers. The average age of the people in Kiru's company are 26. And that's what needs to continue as they hire other young people. So I'll end by saying how proud I am by this, and also the significance of the partnership with EcoBank. Because for entrepreneurs to scale, they need to move across the continent. That's how our economies individually are not big enough, but as a continent, we have a big economy. And so, Jeremy, I really applaud your leadership in working with Kiru and his team to help them to scale across the continent, and in doing so, they'll be able to create more jobs. So congratulations again, and here's to Fingo.